Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori, and this is part 2 of 5 on ego death. On ego death, setting down your ego and walking through it. So if you didn't see step 1, make sure you're ready for it, because you don't just jump ahead to the end of the book. Like, you're never going to get and slow your roll, right? But this one is one of my, no, I won't say most favorite, but it's a huge part of what I do. I do a lot of shadow work with people. I do shaman work. So we do a lot of shadow work. So think of inner child work on like steroids. Think of that as like a really high level. And this is the phase that once you've decided I'm ready to jump into it, this is the phase where you start questioning everything that you were taught. I talk about this a lot. See, you got to be willing to be vulnerable, and here we are. So, excuse me, very often this is tough for people because there's a little bit of a loss of identity. So for so long you believed such and such, maybe religiously or politically, or how we do things as a family, and you were kind of taught this, and now you're 50 or 20 or 70, it doesn't matter. But you're like, wow, okay, so for part of this ego is to be able to release what you think that you know and start fresh. Just kind of go into it like, I am reevaluating my entire life. So when you're sitting in that reevaluation of your entire life and in your entire space, that's where it can be a little scary, because you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know what I believe anymore. But this is that part of, are you willing to jump into this? And the shadow work in which you do is to understand that you're not a product of your trauma. You must realize, and that's something that, by the way, if you want to go deeper with it, definitely consider booking a session, because we can unbox it. We can unbox some things that you're dealing with personally, because I'm just giving you the blanket overview. It's going to be independent to each one of you of what you're dealing with. At no point is there something that you're dealing with that's like, oh, this is just the like exception. No, there's no exception to this. So you have to be willing to do this. And that's going back and looking at the trauma, some words that were said to you, things that you were taught growing up. There's a lot of things that can, like I said, I've talked about it before, that's very gaslighting for us as adults. You know, be seen, not heard, speak only when spoken to, you know, treat others the way that you want to be treated. Yes, but not with the expectation of them treating you that way. You be kind with zero transactional expectations. So this is the phase where you start asking yourself, why am I people pleasing? Like, why am I feeling like I need to go people please? Oh, because my mom said that this is how women do it, or this is how I do it, or this is how she did it, so this is how I have to do it. This is where you have to really sit with yourself. This is a really long process, because now you're evaluating you're not judging. I didn't say judge, I said evaluating everything, evaluating all your relationships, evaluating everything that you believed in, everything from religion to politics to relationships to work to school, everything. This is a reevaluation. So here's a good exercise, right? I talked about it before, is pulling out some paper and saying, okay, what do you believe? Like, just write it out. Like, just write out, what do you believe? No need to judge it. But then after you have that down, now you can go back and say, why do I believe it? Well, because this is just what I was taught. Okay. So we're just going to buy into that. See, a lot of what you're struggling with your ego, if you got to do this because this is how I do it, is because you've adopted this mentality that this is the only way to do it. There's many more directions to go than one way to get to the end of your destination. So to sit in that is to question everything in which you've believed. Question everything that you see, everything that you hear, everything. Question it for yourself and say, does it work for me? But you have to be willing, going back to the first video, you have to be willing to step away from what no longer serves you. And this may be people, maybe family, maybe friends, maybe a whole bunch of that. But you can't know it until you evaluate it, right? So you can't be like, well, this person's toxic AF to me. I just want to roll out. That's an emotional response. We're not doing emotional responses. So you have to say, and remind yourself of this. This is that ego phase. It isn't just what are they bringing to your table as far as support for you and helping you. What are you bringing to their table? It's always, again, you're going to want to reframe this I, me, my. Yes, that's how you can point of reference. It's your feelings. You're the only person who can feel your feelings. But you want to be careful of that point of reference, right? So When you go through something like that, you have to say, why do I feel? Why do I believe? Not why do I feel? Why do I believe this is said thing? Right? And before you say, I don't know, it's just how I've been or how I was raised, go deeper with that. Well, mom said da da da, dad said da da da, teacher said this. Now, ask yourself this question. Okay, once you go through all that, again, meant to take time. Do you believe it? Not how were you raised to believe it? I'm saying, do you believe it? And if you say, I don't know, then you don't believe it. Okay? And then this means that it's okay. That's what we'll go into this next video on curiosity and jumping and trying new things, which is like the money. That's like, this is, so like the first two is like, that's the hard, that's the hitch in the stomach, that's that feel gross. The next ones are kind of like, oh my God, this is still a little scary, but I'm kind of like getting my juju here and I'm down for it. So, but this is where you have to live. You have to say, wow, why do I believe that I have to be married? Why do I believe that I have to have children? Why do I believe that this is what I believe in spiritually? Why do I believe this is what I believe in politically and da 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 da? But when you go down that road, now you can adopt new habits that aren't somebody else's. So why do you believe, this is your ego, right? Why do you believe that you have to respond to somebody the way that they're trying to train you to respond to them? Why? Why do you believe that? Right? That's your ego. An ego, a healthy ego that you lay down and that you walk hand in hand with is like, I hear them. I see how they do things. That's not my jam. I appreciate it for them, but I'm not going to change myself to fit into their box. Ego says you want to change people to fit into your box. And this is the key of accepting people and meeting people where they are, not where you want them to be. I don't care where you want them to be. I don't care if you want them in your life. I don't care if you do whatever. You can want that all day long. That may not be in their best interest. That's a big part of ego death right there. Just because you want something or someone, doesn't even have to be a person, it can be in anything. Just because you want it and you desire it, you think it's going to make you feel better, doesn't mean that it's owed to you. That's the acceptance piece. That is the acceptance piece. So sitting with why you think that that needs to happen. Sure, it might make you feel better, it might make you feel great. That's not the real deep reason though. So I want you to get yourself in a space to really be honest with yourself. Be open and vulnerable. People, why do you believe, this is part of the shadow work, why do you believe that people are supposed to make you feel happy? Because they're not. Why do you struggle of knowing that you're enough for exactly who you are? Where are you struggling with that? That's all ego. That's all ego. Again, great to acknowledge where it came from. Do not use your past as an excuse. It's a reason, not an excuse. It happened, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, but you identify it. So that, I'm going to leave you with that, right? And again, it's if you want it something more personal to you, then you just reach out to your girl. I got you. It's always in the show notes down here in the description of the channel, the description of the video. But then we can go into each individual thing. And it doesn't matter what you're dealing with. You don't get an exception. And no one else gets an exception either. And that's important. Okay? So let's start on that. Dig deep into what you actually believe, not what you were told to believe.